Hey everyone, it's me, Liz, under Lilac Renegade, and this week's planned programming was not done yet, so we are going to watch some old footage. And I have to warn you, this is not the best of my filming ever. It was filmed maybe 2 years ago, but whereas the piece has aged well, my filming skills have not. So please forgive me. I do the best I can with trying to make it look better. Anyway, so let's talk about the process. When I started this project, I had absolutely no plan. I had not done any sketches or any colorways, and honestly, this is kind of how I prefer to work. I like it better when I just have an idea or a challenge in front of me and I just kind of sit down and make it happen. I know that there are a lot of artists out there who go through immense planning processes, and sometimes those processes are very helpful to me, but I often just really like sitting down with a pencil and some paint or some ink or gouache or whatever I'm using and just going at it. And so this is really where I'm like really comfortable in working. Now, one thing that I knew I wanted to do, and this was the challenge that I had for this project, was I knew that I wanted to do the line work in something other than black. So I sketched out originally in watercolor pencils. I know that a lot of watercolor artists do this. The reason is that the sketches then disappear when you add the watercolor, or in this case, the ink on top of it. Then I did the line work in teal, then red violet India ink. And the nice thing about the India ink is that it's not going to re-wet like watercolor will, so it's not going to reactivate and maybe mix up with the other colors that I add later, which sometimes that's really helpful when watercolors do that. But if you ever want to have a project, and some watercolors don't do that, but if you ever want to have a project where you want a specific square of color to remain exactly where it is, exactly how it is, no matter how much you add on top of it, ink is a really good way to go. And in fact, I've kind of played around with the idea of doing, and I've done a couple of pieces like this, of doing like the shadows and the shading in ink and the values in ink, and then doing watercolor glazes on top of it to add that color, which is something that actually I'd like to revisit at some point. It's not something I do with this particular piece, but it is definitely something I'd like to revisit at some point. And I do think that actually this is one of my first times ever using 100% watercolor paper. And once the line work is done, I switch over to using watercolors. It's very easy to see me building up the layers, and I definitely do it the right way, where I'm doing thin glazes and building up that color slowly over time, which is a habit I've kind of gotten out of, which is not necessarily very good. Cotton watercolor paper just soaks up color so wonderfully compared to paper watercolor or cellulose watercolor paper. And in some ways I miss the cellulose watercolor paper because it got me in some very good habits that when I switched over to the cotton watercolor paper really served me well, but now I'm kind of spoiled and I'm kind of deviated away from those. So those are things that I'd really like to go back to because it allows for more control of where certain colors go or maybe how they look and things like that. And I just really want to make sure that I'm not falling backwards and that I'm moving forwards with my skills when it comes to painting. I also realized it's been a really long time since I've done any portraits. I really love painting portraits, and it has me thinking about, what kind of work I want to show on my channel. And there are some things that I just really miss painting just because they take a little bit longer to do, and portraits are one of those things for me. Although I am pretty excited about the videos that I have planned, and I've got like a month planned out already. Next week we are going to see the video that was meant for this week. You'll understand when you see it why it's taken me so long. It's a huge scene and it's nothing like what I normally do, and it's a huge challenge. I'm still not sure whether or not it's turning out okay, but you'll definitely understand why it took so long. The week after that, I am thinking about doing another planned doodle or Zentangle. This one's definitely not going to be as big as the last one, which was the Hunger Games one, and that was like 9 by 12. It was so big. And I'm trying to decide exactly how to do it. So I'm considering doing like similar patterns for similar objects, repeating with just color variations, or I'm considering doing, I guess it kind of depends on what I decide to actually draw then. Um, but I definitely know that I want to have a lot of micron pen work and watercolor in it, because that's really what's going to make me happy in that piece. Whatever I envision is just lots and lots of line work that are creating the values, and then the watercolor glazes on top, which I really think is actually something I want to play with more. It's just this creating values and then glazing color on top, because this is the second time I've mentioned it in this voiceover. Anyway, so I do have 3 suggestions to pick from for this Zentangle planned doodle experience, and they are jack-o'-lantern, sugar skull, or fall leaves. So please leave a comment below letting me know which one you think is the best idea, or if you have a different idea that you think would be cool, feel free to leave that as well. I'll let you know in the next video which one I decide, or which one you guys decide for me. Then at the very end of October, or even in the first weekend of November, I do want to go ahead and do a Drawloween tour. So this year when I did Drawloween, I had some alternative goals than I've had in the past. I've always found it a bit of a struggle to actually complete Drawloween or Inktober or whatever it is, because I've always felt pressure to create a finished product each day, which that is a lot of work to go from concept to idea to sketch to line work to color to shading every single day. So this year I just wanted to get to the sketch point. I just wanted to get to the point where I had conceptualized it, chosen an idea, and sketched it out, possibly even done line work. So I'm at the end of the month, I'm going to have 31 unfinished products, which that's perfectly fine. You don't have to finish every sketch you ever start. But I do want to go ahead and pick 5 of those to turn into a finished product. And the reason I'm picking 5 is because there are 5 weeks in October, and I think it's a good, nice round number to go ahead and put in there with our Drawloween tour. And then after that, I'm not really sure what I'm going to have in store for you guys. I do have some alternative stuff that I've recorded, but it may be kind of like what happened with this video where I kept holding on to the footage and you may or may not ever see it. Or, you know, it'll at least be a while before you see it. Anyway, so let's go back to the painting that's in front of us right now. I do really love how the background and the fabric areas turned out. To me, the fabric looks like this kind of fabric called batik fabric. If you've ever been in a fabric store, it's this like, it looks like it's almost tie-dyed, but it just kind of looks like it's dyed unevenly with intent, is the best way I know how to put it. And then the background to me kind of looks like stained glass. And this is where I first really start to play with the way that watercolors will bloom when you just lay down water and then drop some color in. And so I think I really enjoyed that whole process because it's something that I've been incorporating in my work ever since. I also go ahead and add these metallics into this painting. I really love adding metallics to any and all paintings I possibly can. These particular metallic watercolors are just novelty paints, and I'm pretty unsure of their actual quality, but I do think that for this piece, which had no real purpose, or it wasn't a commission, it wasn't being scanned later for all I knew, they're just really pretty. Anyway, I tried to add pupils and stuff like that, but the pale eyes just looked really good here, and I really feel like it inspired the concept that I came up with at the end. I ended up naming this piece Blind Fortune, and it's because the pale eyes kind of make her look like she's blind, but then I kind of like the idea of a blind fortune teller, especially one who's like reading tarot cards, because how does she know which tarot card she's holding or whatever? I don't know. But I really liked the concept, and that's really all. So in short, when I sit down to paint, I don't always have a plan, but sometimes that's for the best because I come up with these really awesome ideas on the fly, and I really enjoy how this piece looks. It's still one that I include in samples of my work and things like that because I really do feel like it's aged very well. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!